Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 209, Phallic Miscellanies. Link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links to my books, blogs. I've now edited all of the Phallicism series, all I think 10 volumes of material, supposedly by Hargrave Jennings. Not 100% certain though, it's just speculated based on some of the other phallic mentionings that he made in contemporary works, but we're not 100% sure, that's just assumed. Doesn't really matter though. This was a very taboo subject for the late 1800s, the Victorian-era audience that it appealed to. Therefore, it was privately printed, like all of these works were, limited release. Must have been very lucrative for him to have done, the author, 10 different editions. I wonder how many thousands of copies of each one were sold to the titillated Victorian audience that wanted to read about penis worship. In this case, this particular one dwells mostly on some miscellaneous stories from Hinduism. About 80% of it is about Hinduism. There are sections on Buddhism and Islam, specifically mystic Islam, like the dervish and other traditions, but most of it's about Hinduism, and a big part of it is the story of Shiva's penis. In Hindu tradition, at least according to some of their scriptures, and sometimes because there are so many scriptures that are so long, you've got stories that self-contradict, but essentially the idea is his penis fell off at one point because he got cursed by some holy men, actually, for basically going after their wives, trying to seduce them because they saw his grand godly penis and they felt jealous, so they cursed his penis. It fell off. Then it gets like magically transformed into, and this sounds like something that I would write about, an unfathomable penis. Its roots are literally in the underworld and you can't even find the bottom, and its tip soars up into the heavens, and even the other gods are incapable of fathoming it. It is an infinite penis. The whole world is a giant penis. And there's a story associated with like Brahma, getting, I believe, a demigod consort to lie about having fathomed the tip of it. He's exposed as a liar. He gets cursed at one point. It's very interesting. Some of the stories are very, very off the wall. You have another story about, I think Shiva gets mad at one point and his wife has to screw him to calm him down, and becomes like sort of a sacred yoni. At one point he combines with his goddess consort into one being, I believe temporarily, in order to restore life or to restore his cock or something like that. Very, very odd stories. Can you imagine being in the late 1800s, you're a Victorian, you're told that masturbation causes madness and no sex before marriage, and if you even look at a girl, you get like, diseases and shit. The diseases of Venus, they're paranoid about it. You have to cover up every square inch of yourself like a monk all the time. And then you're reading about this weird culture that you can go and visit these people. They're like obsessed with sex. They have sacred prostitutes and stuff. Oh, hey, Mom, can I go over to India for some research? I want to join the research institute of the British Empire or something. I want to go and do a orthographic study of Hinduism. Why do you think they were going? Dude, this was a thing even when I was studying anthropology, talking about how the most common remains, this was a joke in the Caribbean archaeology class, that the most common remains that you would find of native culture were marks in the sand where one of your research students had been screwing one of the people on the islands the night before drunkenly, along with the archaeological remains of Budweiser cans, among other things. It's common. Still happens to this day. Yes, there is a sexually colonial aspect of the West's interaction with some of these cultures, even to this day, and it's rather interesting. I do find it funny that Hargrave Jennings, or whoever wrote this, is constantly titillating the audience by saying, oh, then they get together with the sacred prostitute, and they anoint her with the ghee, the refined butter, and the honey and stuff, and they do this, that, and everything. And then what happens next, I can't even tell you. And it's too degenerated, it's too sexually explicit. Meanwhile, they're studying the Bible. I have no problem talking about the Song of Solomon, or the story of Lot, or the fact that Eve only had sons, and so, how did the human race persist? I fucking wonder why. And even the alternative is they were screwing their sisters, so, not necessarily that much better. Or their half-sisters, / what would it be, cousins or something, if maybe Cain screwed his mother, and so there were some girls that were born that weren't like full, I don't know, it gets into some weird genetics. It's basically like an Alabama family tree. No offense to people from Alabama, it's an old joke. It's an interesting work. This is one of the better ones, along with Ophiolatrea and Cultus Arborum. Some of them are a little bit more dry, academic. This one's a little more titillating. again, like Cultus Arborum especially. And then you've got Ophiolatreia, serpent worship, which was rendered as the penile. You also have some talk about the yoni here, although I believe its archaic rock remains is mostly about the yoni, the vagina symbolism. That one also focuses more heavily on the British Isles and some of like the Celtic and similar traditions from Europe. This one is mostly Hinduism. Again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. Highly recommended. It is part of that phallicism series that people have been perusing so much. Second and third links to my books, blogs. All the others mostly are under the academic header. That's about all. Peace out.